I haven't recorded anything for a while. That's partly because the paint job didn't come out like I wanted it to. There's a few flaws in it here and there. There's a texture in the paint. I've decided I'm going to live with it for the most part. There are a few spots on the car that I will respray. The trunk lid, for instance, I can take that off, sand it down, and respray it and get the results I want. Most of the rest of the car, I'm willing to accept it the way it is. So I started putting it back together. What little bit of painting has to be done is not going to stop me from putting it back together. So I began that process. I built these the radiator support rods out of some 5/16 stainless steel rod. I heated them and bent them into this shape. And what that's for is the scoop that I had that used to sit on here would come up and it would interfere if the rods went straight back, more of a straight rod to the back. So I had these created and put in there, and I'm quite pleased with them. I think they work pretty well. They offer plenty of radiator support. However, if I need to stiffen it anymore, I can weld a little gusset plate right in here and that'll stiffen it up to plenty. That'll make it plenty strong anyway. I reinstalled my heater. Originally the heater hose came out of here and I just flexed it up along here and then tied them together and let them go down, but I plumbed it this time with an elbow and plumbed it up to here and actually put a 90-degree in it, lashed them together here. This is a support bracket that I built out of a piece of angle steel that I had. Makes it nice and firm and steady, so I'm pleased with the way that turned out. I got new door handles on it. They're nice and firm. They work quite well. I'm really pleased with them. To truly appreciate them, you have to have experienced the old door handles, and they were like this. You could see how sloppy they are. They were really, really bad. So anyway, the new ones are very nice. The doors are all aligned. It may sound a little noisy right now. There's no gaskets in it. I'm going to get some gaskets for it to tighten it up. When I put the doors together, I have a deadbolt here, and the deadbolt, of course, with suicide doors, you pretty much have to have a deadbolt because it makes the door nice and safe. And so, but anyway, I had the deadbolt all along, but what I did was I painted this orange line on here so that when the deadbolt was open, I could just look over here and see. And if the deadbolt's locked, then you don't see the orange line. So when you're driving down the road, if you happen to question whether somebody had locked the deadbolt, you could just look over and see. However, I still had that on there, but what I also did, I installed a light on the dashboard, and this light now will come on when the motor's running. The light will come on, and if the deadbolt is open, like it is right now, if it's locked, the light goes out. And I've got, of course, that's on both doors. So that's going to help out a whole lot. If you're driving at night, it's kind of hard to look down there and see whether that orange is showing or not. So I think, and the light will also attract attention. If you got a passenger, it'll make them think, whoops, I got to lock the door, or you need to lock your door. So my next step is I'm going to carpet it. Let's go back. I've got it lined with fat mat. The whole floor is lined with fat mat, and just recently I went in here and cut this carpet pad, and it's glued to the surface, so it doesn't have to be glued a lot, but just enough to keep it from slipping around while you're putting the carpet in. This is my old carpet. I put it in there to make sure it was still a good pattern that I could use. It fits reasonably well. I will make adjustments to it, but I'm going to take and cut the new carpet now, and I'll put carpet in it next. Once I get the carpet in, I'll be able to put the seats on back in the car. Technically speaking, then it would be drivable. I've still got the exhaust to put on it and the license plate bracket in the back with the light, and at that point it's drivable. There's a lot of other things I want to do to it, and so I'll slowly be working on it. Hopefully I can get all the things taken care of so that by this April maybe I'll have it ready to return to the road with no other changes or repairs. I'm working on carpeting the inside of the hot rod now, and what I'm doing is, this is just regular indoor-outdoor carpet that I bought from Lowe's. The color's good. It'll go with the rest of the upholstery in the car pretty well. It's pretty cheap and it's pretty flexible. What I'm doing is, I used my original carpet that I had in there as a pattern, and it was a really good fit. So what I've done now is laid that pattern out and cut this carpet out a little larger than the pattern, just in case, and I can trim it to fit as I go along. What I did, where I had to cut holes for, like this is the gear shift and the parking brake hole, where I cut those holes, what I did was I took some spray adhesive and sprayed around the edge of the opening, and then used duct tape to let it tack up, and then I use duct tape to tape around those edges, and that'll just keep this from fraying anymore while I'm working it. Once it's in place, it'll be fine. I actually did this before and it worked quite well. This opening here in the middle is where it goes over the transmission hump. You have to actually put that in pieces. So this is a pattern for the part that goes over the transmission hump. You can see it's actually larger than the opening, and what that does is, when it fits in there, it will cause that swell to go over the transmission hump. And then this, of course, is where the steering column, gas pedal, they have to be split so they can go over it. And this is the transmission hump. Of course, this is the back side of the carpet too. So here's your front side. It's March 1st. Garage is kind of cluttered. I've been working on a lot of different projects and not cleaning up behind any of them, but I have been continuing to put the hot rod back together. You can see I've got the exhaust pipes on it now. The chrome piece in the center of the pipe covers a muffler. It's a heat shroud, and it's not really bolted on there. I'm going to take that off and polish it later. The rest of the pipe will be easy enough to polish on the car. I finished the carpet. I got the carpet in. It looks, I'm satisfied with it. It's, I think it looks pretty good anyway. I built these threshold moldings. They're just regular thresholds like you'd get at Lowe's. They're 1 3/8 inch. It's got a little dovetail on it right here that kind of rolls down the rocker panel. And then I will add a piece of 1/4 inch weather stripping right across here to seal the door against the floor. Seats are back installed. I shampooed them. I didn't realize how dirty they were until I got them in the sunlight and started shampooing them, and they really looked a lot better. So that's done. I've started cleaning up the inside. So I've got, it's actually street ready now. I could drive it on the street right now, but I choose to continue making the improvements in it instead of, let's call it, debuting it right now. I put a new master cylinder on it, a new speedometer cable, one long enough that it doesn't have to, it cuts, the old one was short and it kind of cut directly from the floor right directly to the speedometer. That was a little awkward. So I put a longer one on it so it folded in there. I think my next step is going to be get it outside and clean up the engine compartment. Kind of wash it down good, and then make the changes in the engine compartment I want to make. I've got another set of valve covers and air cleaner that I want to put on it. I may reroute the fuel line so it comes up the back of the engine, and that's one of the things I had in mind doing, but it's I'm continuing on. I've got the tail panel bolted in and the license plate bracket is installed. If I can do this with one hand. Put this down for a minute. Prop the trunk up. Okay. I built this bracket for the trunk latch. I've got it in place and I'm not so sure I'm going to use it the way it is. I don't mind the fact that it's obtrusive. It comes out into the trunk. But but I'm having a problem building some sort of ring device to come down from the trunk and catch into it. That's not going to be as easy as I'd hoped, so I may end up reversing this and putting this back on the trunk lid and having the ring on the deck, on the floorboard. I think that's about all the additions I've done to it since the last time I recorded anything. But I'll keep at it. Maybe by April I'll have it ready to drive out and take it to the first cruise in.